Rick Grenell's joining us. He's, of course, our Senior Advisor for Foreign Policy and National Security. Rick, I want to start right off with the trip they didn't want to make. They never wanted to make. They wanted to punish the Saudis for their pariah. Now they are making the trip, but they're denying it has anything to do with, it's the priority is not about gas and oil. It's other security issues. I get that there's other security issues there too, but we know it's all about oil and gas. But I want to start with Rick, because in this situation, when we are facing this kind of inflation, the economy making the moves it's making today, that impacts our national security. And even our friends in the Middle East know that's time for, unfortunately, for them to also try to take advantage of us. I mean, they're allies and friends, but they're also looking out for their best interest.
Yeah, for sure, Jordan. And let's be very clear about one thing. Add the Saudi policy from the Biden administration to the long list of strategic blunders. This is a team, the Biden team, that early on thought that they could do their policy by picking a fight and poking the eye of the Saudis. They did this because they wanted to please Iran. They wanted to have an Iran deal. So they did a series of things. They took the Houthis off the terrorist list. They told the Saudis, go pound sand. We don't need you when it comes to energy or oil issues. They repackaged intelligence, manipulated intelligence like it was new and it wasn't new, to poke the Saudis in the eye over the Khashoggi issue after we had really confronted the Saudis and decided to move forward in that relationship. This strategic blunder from the Biden team is now coming back to haunt them because they need help on gas prices. Every policy the Biden team has put into place has raised gas prices. Add the Saudi relationship to that long list.
Let's go to Mike in Maryland on line one. Hey, Mike, welcome to SecHill. You're on the air.
So just like to comment, I'm in Waldorf, Maryland. I'm not too far from D.C. We all saw the prices going up after Biden took office. But, they're up to the point now. My wife and I both work. Our gas prices, what used to cost me to fill up a half a tank or three-quarter tank of gas now doesn't even fill up a quarter tank on my truck. Our shopping bills have gone up by $150 a week as a translated cost because of the transportation companies passing on the fuel cost to the food. My electric bill has gone up over $65 a month, and we are very conservative anyway. And now it comes to priorities, what we actually have to have as opposed to a want. And we're all pulling our belts a little tighter.
Yeah, Mike, your story, and Rick, we're getting this a lot. These are hardworking Americans that are, it's to say sticker shock is an understatement. Because it is shock. I mean, listen, I filled up my gas tank the other day. I went out to dinner with my wife the other day with Pam, and it is amazing how much it's increased. And, I always say elections have consequences, and part of those consequences, Rick, are policies that don't work. And here it's on, it's really impacting the American people.
Well, first of all, I want to say to the caller, Mike, that we totally understand what he's going through. I have people in my family who are making tough decisions about driving, about trying to carpool to work, about what to pay for in terms of food and necessities. This is unacceptable in America. It feels like a third world country on what's happening. You go to the grocery store, and as Mike probably knows, there are products on the shelves that used to be there so that we had choices with good prices, and now you don't even have options. There are no products there. We literally have been put into this situation because of bad policies, and the fact is that Joe Biden is trying to pretend like this is Putin's fault. This is Joe Biden's fault and his terrible policies.
Let's go to Adela in Tennessee on line two. Hey, Adela, welcome to SecHill. You're on the air.
My comment is this: Marsha Blackburn is my senator, and she's a friend, and she's totally on point. I get so tired of hearing the narrative that these people don't know what they're doing, and they're inept, and they're all this stuff. I honestly think that this is totally intentional. The full-on strategy that we're seeing being played out, it was probably laid on the ground in Hillary's days of running for president. Trump interrupted everything, and now we're seeing the results of that interruption through Biden being
Yeah, so
basically
Adela, here's what's interesting, and Rick, we talked about this earlier in the broadcast with Senator Blackburn, who said that a lot of the energy issues that we're facing are, in fact, these were intentional moves by the Biden administration to create this increase, to get people saying, fossil fuels may not be so great, looking at other sources of energy. And now the question that Jordan asked, which I think is the right one, even if that was their plan, did they expect it to have this kind of ramification? So, you've been around.
Now they're running to Saudi Arabia, Rick. Yeah. I mean, now they're running, trying to figure out something. So I do agree with Adela. I agree with Senator Blackburn, Rick, that it was totally intentional. I think that they lost control, though. It's like they lost control of inflation, too. You could hear that with Janet Yellen. So it's all to blame on them because they campaigned on telling us they were going to do this. They just didn't realize. I don't think they could keep control anymore, and it's why they're running off to Saudi Arabia now.
Yeah, Adela is exactly right. It is strategic. It is on purpose. And let me give you one example. The Biden team literally strategically said that we must drop the Trump sanctions on the Russian pipeline because they literally said this, because it will encourage Putin to lash out against us. Now, their strategic analysis was so wrong because the opposite happened. They literally, by taking the Trump sanctions off the pipeline, they encouraged a war in Ukraine. They are literally, the Senate Democrats and the Biden administration worked to drop the Trump sanctions on a pipeline and then were surprised that a war happened when they thought the opposite was happening. And so I think it's not only incompetence, but it was really on purpose to push these policies that they should have seen don't work. And then lastly, let's be honest, they don't know how to adjust once they see a bad policy. Right. Once they see a bad policy that's wreaking havoc, stop digging.
Yeah, I wanted to play because this is Joe Biden this morning to his favorite group, the AFL-CIO, and by 17. And again, I want you to listen to this. And even if he's true here, I will explain why this is absurd.
My plan is simple. First, I'm doing everything in my power to blunt Putin's gas price hike. Just since he invaded Ukraine, it's gone up $1.74 a gallon because of nothing else but that.
Okay, now, Rick, let's say that's true, but he hadn't done all these other policies, Joe Biden. Then gas would be still under $4 a gallon. Because even if you just isolated what was happening in Ukraine, which you can't really do because of all the other policies, but if you did, and you just added $1.74 to where gas was when he came into office, we'd still be paying in most places, maybe California a little more, Rick, but in most places, the average would be under $4.
Yeah, for sure. Look, we have to push Biden, and we're not going to ever get this from the media in Washington, but we have to push President Biden to say, why did Putin invade Ukraine under you and not under Donald Trump? And the reality is that dropping the sanctions on the pipeline like the Biden team did and like every Senate Democrat did was the strategic blunder. It raised gas prices around the world, and it also encouraged a war. We had it under control under the Trump administration. We weren't having these wars. And so this Putin price hike excuse is so ridiculous because Joe Biden caused the Putin action.
Rick, just to kind of finish up, do you think I do hope that they do some work on the Abraham Accords and the work with Israel too? I mean, it doesn't seem like they're in a good spot there with what they're doing in Jerusalem, but I hope they're just not ignoring that when they meet with all these countries.
Yeah, I think they should start by actually calling it the Abraham Accords. They haven't quite uttered those words. Yeah. And I think the success of the Abraham Accords would just mean that they should embrace them and try to further them. We handed them a great portfolio from the Trump administration. The Saudis were very close to signing if Joe Biden would have been able to continue a policy where we were literally bringing world peace, they might have been able to see the Saudis sign. But now they're in a heap of trouble with the Saudis. The Saudi leader doesn't even want to meet with the president of the United States.
You know what? I mean, the United States, we should never be in a heap of trouble with the Saudis because they should always be worried about us,
right,
and their relationship with us. But this is why the world has changed. That's why I said when you start having to, like Rick said, be dependent on foreign aid for baby formula, and people can't pay for gas. The world, they're feeling the pain too, but they also look and say, well, the U.S. is distracted on all these domestic issues. This is the time for us to take action, which in the past they might have really opposed us on, but right now aren't going to be paying attention to. And so lots of other things get out of control. And so whoever the next president is, they got a lot of work to even get back to that point.